Hey everyone, so really quickly, at the time of this podcast being shared with everyone, it is or will be July the 6th, which is my mom's birthday. So I just want to publicly say happy birthday, Mom, and I love you so much. And don't eat too much of the pound cake that I made. Yeah, love you.
Like that could be,
Bye.
in your mind, like, man, I'm on the battlefield fighting for the Lord, and I promise him I would serve him until I die. I would.
Right.
Everything, you know what I mean? And I don't think that's what he intended. Like this when you think about it, every part is working harmoniously, but no part is overextended. Like, you know what I mean? And so I think it kind of goes to that, like us just kind of resetting and getting the body to understand that that alone, that it's the body. And in order for us to be most effective, everybody's just going to have to play their part. It can't be solely on the head, because the head can only do so much. But the head is for him to calculate, think, cast vision. He needs to be in that place. But if he's out of place, he can't do that effectively. You know what I mean?
Welcome to the Burned Out Preacher podcast, where we have frank discussions weekly on ministry struggles and how many of us in the ministry have gone from overwhelmed and exhausted to calm and equipped leaders who love being in ministry. I am your host, Monique Addison-Stinson, burnout prevention coach for ministry leaders. Are you ready to overcome burnout? If your answer is yes, then keep listening. Hello and welcome back to the Burned Out Preacher podcast. I am your host, Monique Addison-Stinson, burnout prevention coach for ministry leaders, and I help burned out, exhausted, and overwhelmed ministry leaders become calm and equipped leaders who actually love being in ministry. And today we have a local celebrity.
Oh, no.
We have a local celebrity in the house, and I'm just going to let him introduce himself. Sir, go right ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, greetings, everyone. I am Pastor Larry Watson Jr., pastor of Englewood Church here in Pensacola, Florida. I don't know about the celebrity title, but I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody,
All right now. Everyone in Pensacola knows who Pastor Watson is. So I'm just very excited to have you on. I appreciate you accepting the invite to come on and talk about ministry burnout. So we'll just start off talking about, what does ministry burnout mean to you?
First of all, I gotta tell you that I appreciate you choosing me out of the vast amount of that have asked. I am totally honored to be a part of the podcast today. Ministry burnout, I would say, man, to be holistically empty.
I like that definition. Yeah. I need to sit with that one. Holistically empty.
Yeah.
Wow, that's deep. You start off deep.
It's vast too. So we're gonna have to really
let's pull back the onion on that one. So elaborate, if you will, sir.
So I've this year I would be 22 years in ministry. I know I look young, but and I'm the son of a pastor, so I'm a PK. My grandfather was a pastor, man. So when it comes to like church, inside and out, like it's been my life, like, but I'm growing to a place where I believe it's in 1 John, where it talks about him wanting you to prosper even as your soul prospers.
In health, even as your soul prospers. Yeah.
But it's like it's like we've mastered, building people spiritually, but there's so many other facets to life that, you need to be healthy in, like, you know what I mean? And so I think ministry burnout, as we kind of dive into this, I think that in experiencing, watching my dad and my granddad, sometimes, man, you could be so in on ministry that your children are in a deficit, your marriage is in a deficit, your health is in a deficit, because you're giving so much, you're pouring so much to the point to where nobody's pouring into you. Eventually you're going to pour out, like, you know what I mean, to the point to where you don't have anything to give. And that's the danger zone. But that holistic need is like, wow, I'm burnt out because I've been given so much, and there's so many layers to this thing that we talk about. Because not just I'm thinking even now, like, you know, one of the things is like when you give of yourself to the point to where you become empty. But sometimes, man, a lot of times burnout has to do with the preacher, the pastor doing everything and just doing too much. You know, like me being a PK, like there's nothing in the church that I probably can't do. I've swept the church, cleaned the church. I can work the sound system. I can play an instrument. I can burn the CDs. I can record the CDs. You know, we could do evangelism. We could do car washes, whatever. Like, you know, and that's all fine and dandy. But if you're not careful, you'll be wired to feel like you have to do all of that. You know, and a lot of times it comes from you seeing your pastor or you seeing your dad doing it all. Like, you know, our church owns some real estate in around our church, man. And sometimes when the houses would go down, guess who would be the one that's fixing them? Like my dad. Like it was just, you know. So I can speak to this burnout from a lot of perspectives, and we'll crack it open today. We'll dig deep.
Oh my goodness, you hit on so much. I had the opportunity to have Dr. Lamar Staples on, and I was like, how did we get here? You know, because I grew up in the church and been in various ministries, if you will, for over 20 years. And none of this was talked about. Health wasn't talked about. Being tired, how dare you be tired? How dare you be tired? God didn't give up on you. You're going to give up on God. You know, you would hear that type of conviction.
Right.
And I was asking Pastor Staples, how did we get here? And I was asking him for, you know, how it seems like it's partly the congregation's fault for putting pastors on this pedestal and putting, you know, idolizing and worshiping the pastor. And it just seemed like we did that. And I asked him, how can we help? And he said to develop your own relationship with God. What are some things that the congregation can do to help you prevent burnout?
You know, Jethro that came to Moses and was pleading with him that, hey man, if you don't learn to delegate, man, you're gonna kill yourself, bro. You can't not do it all. And I think when you look at shepherding, or just from a standpoint of being the under shepherd, I think that sometimes, man, we don't really realize that God has given us. He's given us help, like, you know. And so, but I've learned though, if potential isn't realized until you put a demand on it. And so continue to do, if I continue to cut your grass for you, you're going to continue to let me cut your church. You know, he don't ask for no water or anything, you know. And so, you know, grandma said closed mouth don't get fed. Like it's like, you know, like the level of ministry that we need to do, like, you know, it's going to take the body. And that's kind of like where I've kind of situated. Like, I understand that the placement where I am is more so the brain. I was just thinking about it on the way here. Like, I'm steering my car. I'm using my brain is calculating all of this, you know, how far, how fast, and all that. But it was my hand that was guiding the steering wheel. My forearm was steadying my hand, you know, my bicep. You know? But the brain has this calculation, like the foresight, like, where we're going, but it's the body that executes the command, like, and so if I don't have a body, like a headless body, it really can't function. And so I think kind of getting that in place to kind of like, I had to really like reset myself, reset the way that I think, because I was becoming my dad. I was beginning to pray, like, I want to, every flaw that he had, I think that he failed in those areas so that I wouldn't have to fail. Like, I would be foolish to fall in the same areas, or because sometimes though that could be holy, like that could be, in your mind, like, man, I'm on the battlefield fighting for the Lord, and I promised him I would serve him until I die. I would
right.
Everything, you know what I mean? And I don't think that's what he intended. Like when you think about it, every part is working harmoniously, but no part is overextended. Like, you know what I mean? And so I think it kind of goes to that, like us just kind of resetting and getting the body to understand that that alone, that it's the body. And in order for us to be most effective, everybody's just going to have to play their part. It can't be solely on the head, because the head can only do so much. But the head is for him to calculate, think, cast vision. He needs to be in that place. But if he's out of place, he can't do that effectively. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And, and I like that analogy of the physical body as well, because the body is the physical body is constantly searching for homeostasis, so balance. Right. And if something is out of balance, the body isn't going to function properly. And so that's kind of what we're dealing with in the church, and where God called me to do this. I did not want to do this.
It's so needed. Like I'm praying even now, like, man, that God really expands your territory, man, because I talk to brothers daily, man, that are so out of balance that it's unbelievable. Like, you know what I mean? And so
thank you for that.
I thank you for being obedient to the call and seeing the need. Because if we don't get a grasp on it, man, we're gonna lose a lot of good brothers and sisters, man, as it pertains to ministry, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what happened. I kept seeing these stories of pastors committing suicide and pastors quitting the church. And then, like I said, I've been in ministry for over 20 years, so grew up in church. And I just saw us getting sicker and sicker, and the pastors were sick. And I'm like, I don't think this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Something needed to change. And I remember I had another guest, Dr. Addison Kennedy, and I think he said someone else told him this, and I've heard it before, but it was a good reminder, is that Jesus already died for the church. We don't have to do that.
That's good. That's really good.
Right. We don't have to do that. We weren't called to do that.
Right.
And so we need to get our stuff together and get it in order. So thank you so much for sharing. I want to talk about, because you are a PK.
Yeah.
And you said a few things that I've been hearing. I've been hearing that, and I think Pastor Lamar Staples mentioned this as well, because his father is a bishop. And same thing, he heard and saw and witnessed the past generation basically kill themselves in church. I mean, they was just at church constantly. Right. And I am seeing that when I talk to younger pastors, they're like, that's not going to happen to me. So tell me a little bit about your experience as a PK, what you saw in terms of ministry. You touched on it a little bit earlier, but I just want you to elaborate a little more. And then what are some things you're doing differently now to prevent burnout?
Yeah, so I would say, man, like kind of that, I said it eventually, like it's like wherever somebody wouldn't do, he would do, which is the mark of a good leader. I think that the sheep should see that you have the heart to just sit in the bishop's seat, but you'll really get in the trenches when need be. But it's dangerous when you stay in the trenches. Like, like I'm here. I've stepped out of my role. I kind of give this analogy. If you ever watch a band, the drum major or the person that's leading,
marching band. Mm-hmm.
That's it. Or the conductor. You know what I mean?
Right.
The conductor, the band really can't start unless the conductor counts it off. You know what I mean? But if you notice, there's this beautiful sound that comes from the marching band or the symphony, but the conductor is not playing any instrument. He doesn't have a flute, clarinet, violin. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have any of those instruments.
Right.
But he's controlling the flow. And like each section has probably like a section leader, like, and it might be a lot of input that goes on in practice, but when people see the halftime show or they see the recital or the concert, they don't know the work that's put in. They just see the mastered, but just imagine if he stopped doing his job to say, hey man, let me go handle this trumpet part. Like, he's out of place. Like, right. He's out of, now the whole band is needing his direction. You know what I mean? But he's out of place now because he's playing the trumpet part too long. Now it's okay if I'm in practice, I'm gonna show you, this right. is, what's supposed to go. The crescendo does this or whatever. But I can't stay there because I'm holding up the progress of the whole band. And so many times.
That's so good.
Pastors find themselves, man, in the section when they need to be up front, man, directing, like, and so, like, it's
I have never heard that analogy. That is so good. That is so good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. It's a lot to it. Looks easy. It looks easy. I cannot play and direct at the same time. I can't do it. And I think that's the reality that they have to know. Like, like if you continue to do and not put a demand, a lot of good work comes from good teaching, like, but right. then to practical application, like, so we're going to move from it to application. And I'll walk with you through, learning but after a while you got to catch it. Like, we'll go fishing a couple of times, but after a while you should learn how to bait your hook and you should learn the process of how we fish. Like, this is what it is. I shouldn't stay in that place, especially if I'm the captain. Right. Like, I'm gonna put you on the. I need the crew to catch the fish.
Right. Oh my goodness, that is so good. And I, maybe because I have I was in marching band. I love music, so maybe that one just really hit home with me because I forgot you sing too.
Yeah, I do.
I forgot that. Yeah. But yeah, that really, really hit home because even with, that analogy, if the conductor is off the mark, like, I mean, you're just, you are right. And there's whenever the conductor is conducting and all the band players or musicians are hitting their notes, it is a beautiful sound.
Most definitely.
You get the most beautiful harmony out of that.
That's right. That's right.
The conductor, like you said, is over there trying to play the trumpet.
Right.
It's just chaos. It's just a bunch of noise.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's the part. If the pastor's down, the band is down. You know what I mean? It's like of course you want him to step down and he's concerned about because he wants the masterpiece to be played beautifully.
Right.
But if I stay in the section too long, man, like I'm messing because ultimately, I mean, we could really go deep in this, man. Ultimately, if we give a beautiful performance, it affects the crowd, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so if we're doing ministry in a beautiful way as it was intended, then we affect the harvest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a bigger way, like, in a bigger way, like, I think that they pay attention to it being done, and they let's go to the next subject. Let's go.
That's just good though. That is just so good.
Yeah.
Man, I'm stealing that one. I'm gonna just tell you right now.
Yours. It's yours. It's yours. If it can be
And,
helpful.
I mean, I feel like it would, and like I said, maybe because I love music and used to play in marching band. That might be why, but that just really hit home for me.
Yeah.
So so what are you doing differently? Are you being more, you're realizing that you need to be more of the conductor? And I
Yeah.
don't be playing, so I used to play tenor sax. So, you realize you can't play tenor sax. Is that
Right.
what it is?
Right. So I think for me, I intentionally, because there's something in me, I think genetically, that's just like the problem solver.
Right.
But then there's a part of me that says, and I'm the type of person, man. I'm gonna tell you, if I put my mind to figure it out, I'm gonna figure it out. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's car, if it's whatever, like whatever it is, like
Same.
done. But the problem with that is that I got to know where my time is most effective. Could I put an engine in the car? Yeah. Could I paint a house? Yeah. Could I? Yeah, I could. But for what God has called me to do, for what I'm made to do, I got to make sure that I'm maximizing my time where I can be most effective.
Right.
And so I think one of the things that I did, like my dad was that guy. Like he'll fix it, man. Somebody could call. Literally, he'll come change a tire. He would do all of that, man. And people loved him for that. It came past the anniversary. Man, I remember the time when Pastor broke down on the answer, and Pastor came and changed my tire for me, and this and that. It's good accolades, man. But like I said, if you keep doing that, it becomes expected. Like you supposed to do, because he's the servant. Like he's supposed to do. I'm supposed to be feeding and teaching, like it's what I'm really supposed to be doing. Exactly. And so what I've done is spent more time with that. Developing leaders is kind of like, I want to create a pipeline of leaders, man, that I can pour my heart into, that I might have to get in and show them how to do it. But it's not my intention to keep doing it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's my intention to kind of hold them accountable to a level of excellence, and kind of move on, to kind of keep pumping out leaders, keep pumping it. Because I think the more leaders you have, even if one falls or one leaves or whatever, man, you have just a plethora of leaders to pull from. And I've learned that a leader, you know how some people say, like, well, I'm just called to like kid ministry. I've learned that a leader, if they're a good leader, man, they can almost be placed. And when it comes to church, they can almost be placed anywhere. Like, if they have your quality, like, you know what I mean? Like, and so, and even if it's not a long time, if it's temporary, if they just have to hold it up temporarily, if they have the good structure and the substance of a good leader, they can carry that thing. And so I kind of wired myself to for them to know, like, I purposely step off so that they can step up. I purposely do it, like, and so, and I don't want them to get into the man say, well, the reason it failed because pastor didn't do it. Because if you keep doing it, if it falls, if it fails, it's the pastor. Mm-hmm. No. Mm-mm. This is another thing that worked for me too, is like exposing who the leaders are to the flock. Like, if this person is over the mission and outreach, I'm gonna put a picture. You're gonna have a picture. I want a picture in the hallway.
Right.
When there's an announcement, like, I want you to give them. I want, if you're the head of the leader of that ministry, people need to associate that ministry with your face. Like, because oftentimes they just, anything ministry is pastor. Anything in it, usher, pastor, deacon, pastor, pastor, car wash, pastor, everything, pastor. Like, and it's easy to sink into that. It's easy to start just kind of thinking like, hey, I just want to just win the people or this and that, though. And I've learned this. I think this is what settled me into this, the mindset that I'm in. I've watched pastors die, and in 3 weeks, the church have another pastor. And it's even though he did all that great work, he changed tires, he painted houses, he he did the youth trips, he did revive, he did all that. Mm-hmm. all of that work, man, sometimes, man, they don't even care for your spouse, like, you know, or your
Right.
children, you know. And so I think from that, this is like a whole nother level of conversation, man.
Right.
It's like when it's one thing to hurt when people are scandalizing you or talking about you or saying what you're not doing. But it's another level of hurt when you're doing everything and you don't have any help.
Yes.
And
Yes.
this hits on like so many levels, man. Like I'm going through this with my family, if I'm being transparent. My grandmother ill. She passed away when she was like 100. There was some siblings that lived in the town where she lived. And so, everybody was kind of scattered around the United States, because the ones that were close to her were the ones that were really caring for her.
Mm-hmm.
It almost seemed like the ones that were far away, like they didn't care. They just had lives and families, you know, and all of us can beat ourselves down. Could we do better with our parents? Yay, nay. Man, my grandmother passed away, man. And, you know, when she was alive, like my family was so close, man, because she was like the glue.
Yeah.
Man. But when people are overexerted and they've worked to the max of their capacity.
Yeah.
It does something to your soul, man. Yeah. Like it does something to who you are. Like and in my family, like these are blood siblings that probably won't talk. You know, the next time we probably talk is at a funeral. Yeah. I'm praying for them, and I never would imagine this, but it speaks to what I'm talking to now. It's the same thing that happens to a family could happen to a pastor. When you work so hard and nobody helps, and you feel like you don't have any backing, man, it does something to your inner man. Like, you know, like, and that it's one thing to deal with like gossip and, you know, stuff like that. But now when you've done all you can and you've done and you look back and there's nobody helping, man, like that right there, man. You get to a state of bitterness. And I've experienced that, you know, with family and ministry, man. Like you just become bitter to your point. Your sermons are not even speaking to faith. You speaking to what you feeling.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not speaking what, you know, I'm not trying to speak a word of faith. Like I'm speaking some word of like, y'all need to tighten up, because you know what I mean? And you start to feel the strain of being stressed and burnout in the sermon.
Yeah.
In the family, in the, you know what I mean? And so that's why I'm saying what you're doing is so imperative, man, because man, like it's a tough job, but I think it has a lot to do with balance. And I think for me, one of the best things that helped me was Genesis, God creates the family. Acts, God creates the church. He creates the family before he creates the church.
Ooh, come on. Listen, there's so many pastors that need to hear that.
And so for me, you know what my one priority is? My family. I try not to miss none of my son's games. Absolutely. You know, his recitals, his Christmas play, whatever it is. Like, he's my priority. Like, you know, if my wife got something on, my baby girl, I mean, their priority, because I'm learning, man, that the execution of your first church, which is your family, it bleeds over into God's church. And if you can manage your home right, then you'll probably be effective when it comes to God's church, because you'll preach those same principles to your parishioners. Like, you know
what? You gotta go ahead, preach. I'm just gonna sit on back. Go ahead, cause
I'm done.
Listen. All I'm gonna say is I know a ton of pastors who need to hear that. They needed that word.
Wow. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. He shows us the model. Like it's day. Like it's clear as day. But we could be so caught up, man, you know, and trying to have a you know, a magnificent, powerful, anointed ministry at church
that appears anointed.
Yeah, that appears anointed, but house is a mess, man.
Right.
You know, but that glory, I'm learning, man, that, you know, just like we represent God's glory, the glory of God, like his goodness and his grace, and, you know, it kind of, his glory is shown through us. I'm learning that, man, like, if I'm an effective father, then my effectiveness, my glory is my son, like, you know, and my daughter or my wife, like, you know what I mean? Like, you'll see my effectiveness in my family, you know what I mean? And so if I'm the head and that's the type of model that I show as the head, that trickles down to, I don't want, because what happens is the pastor is surrounded by people who have that same mentality, that, man, church, we got to just get the church, we got to just, you know, the church. And then you got people around you that are imbalanced. Right. And then so now the church is at the forefront of their lives too. And so now the pastor, because that's where he is, that's where they are. And then so now you got families, that these families come to church, and right. You know, they all this work, you know, to build the church. But, you know, the wife's in there like, man, I can't stand the church, because the church.
Right. Kids can't stand the church. Kids are like, when I grow up, I'm never going to church.
My dad never took me fishing. My dad had never been, always at church. And that takes a toll, man. It takes a toll. Like,
it does.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't even know where to begin now, because you just hit on so much. I'm
sorry.
No, so you mentioned, I know exactly what I'm talking about. You mentioned developing leaders, and I've been having this conversation with several of my guests. So my corporate background is human resources, and one of my jobs was to always train my managers and my leaders to develop or to have a succession plan.
Right.
What are you doing exactly to develop and train your leaders? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's like a hands-on process, man. One of my mentors, he lives by this motto that there's no true success without succession. And so there's a great void that if I have not poured my heart, my spirit, my experience into the person that will succeed me. A lot of churches are going through this now, man. The pastors die and the church dies because he didn't pour, he didn't have a plan of succession. And so, you know, I'm even like, man, I got some people, man, that might have served in a deacon ministry for 32 years. Like, you know, they got the title, but I don't know how effective they was. It's like everything else expires except church titles.
Right.
Milk expires and everything, and it's not even, it's like, I want the best you. And so if that means that you're going to serve for 2 years and you're going to move on to another ministry, then that's great. But I want the best that I can get, you know, and I don't want you to burn yourself out because you're not going to be effective. You're not going to do that. And so I think for me, it's like putting the time in, almost like discipling people, man, aside from just like a class. But it's like, come walk alongside me. Like, you know, let me show you what my day-to-day, you know, let me help you see how I think. Right. So that, you know, in the event, you know, whatever, if I retire, if I quit, you know, if I die, whatever happens to me, I would hope that I poured enough of me out that somebody can pick the mantle up and then really take it, you know, not really go down, but they could take it to the next level because they have my heart, like they have, you know. Right. And if you have people around you that have your heart, I mean, I think that's the greatest success, man. I think even with my dad, like when he retired, man, like what better way, you know, even if I wasn't his blood son, like if I was just a spiritual son, like if you were able to hand the ministry to somebody that you were able to pour into and to impact their life, I think is the ultimate success. That's the ultimate success, man. And so I worry. I look at ministries, even now, I mean, I even, like, you know, ministries I see on TV, I'm just like, I always wonder, like, man, what will happen if that person, like, passed away or they retired or just anything happened? Like, is there like a certain plan of succession? Like, you know, and I think that people should have your heart so much that it should be almost evident, like, oh yeah, that's a son or a daughter of, you know, Larry Watson. Like, you know, they know they got his scent. Like they know him. Like, you know, and that comes to, and I think too though, when you do that, you kind of make mini me's.
Yeah.
And then they understand the weight of what you have to carry, and it's important to them to help distribute the weight. Exactly. Because they can sort of kind of feel what you feel, but just on a micro level. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Now, another thing that I'm trying to, especially with some of my clients who are pastors, they don't have an assistant.
Right.
I mean, they're like doing everything. They have, I mean, and you have an assistant. So was this someone you hired? Has she always been the assistant? How did that work? Because like I said, I have so many pastors who don't have an assistant.
Yeah. So for me, you know, I came in and I was assistant pastor under my dad for a couple years, and then when he retired, I didn't have an assistant. And for some of the administrative work and stuff that needed to be done, you got to know your strength too, man. I've learned, man, I'm not a master of everything. Like, you know, I want to stay in my lane, like what I'm strong in. But I think that the blessing of the body is that there's the strength is in the house. Like, you just got to find the strength, like who has mastered this level and kind of put them in place. And so for me, I kind of established that role of an administrative assistant that's kind of like a mini me, like in a way, like, you know, she knows my heart. You know, we talk, you know, extensively once a week. You know, so if you're talking to her, she pretty much knows, you know, my vibe. Like, okay, pastor's gonna expect this, A, B, C, and D. Like, you know, I just know it's hard. Like, you know, I talked to Miss Margaret, who is I think she was the administrative assistant at Zion Hope for Pastor Yates. And I always admired her, man. I thought she was just like thorough, but she told me, man, like what people see now is years of relationship, years of me really getting to know his fabric. And so, yeah, after like 25, 30 years, like, you know, it should be some mastery going on. Right. And that's what they saw. Like, I know how he wants his correspondences, his letters. I understand, you know, when people ask him to come speak, I know exactly how he wants his accommodations to be. I know what he likes to drink. I know that. And from the closeness to the pastor. But, you know, a lot of times, man, meetings are good. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes the meetings can be a waste of time, especially when you can pop the balloon with your assistant. Like, you know, I just don't want to just lollygag for 2 hours, man. Like, you know, what is it that you need? Like, you know, because you're taking them away from his study and his time with God and his direction. Because, you know, and don't get me wrong, if it's important, pastor's gonna be there. Like, I'm loving. I still think I overextend myself sometimes. It's because I just love my people. But, you know, there's certain things that I'm just learning, man. It's kind of like, I'm not gonna really say it's petty, but it could be answered with a simple answer, simple yes or no, or because she knows my heart.
Exactly.
He can give you exactly, this is what pastor will want you to do.
Right. I love that. And you mentioned Pastor Yates. I miss him.
Yeah.
I miss him so much.
Yeah. Yates he was a goat, man. Like, in the sense.
Oh man. He definitely was.
Yeah.
I know what I wanted to ask you. So first of all, those of you who follow me, you may have noticed I am no longer on Facebook. And that is because my Facebook personal account was hacked. And someone apparently posted something that went against Facebook's community guidelines. Even though I had 2-factor authentication set up, my account was hacked. and Facebook disabled my personal account. I am still on Instagram, but my personal account has been disabled, and I haven't. I don't know if I want to start another one or not, just because Facebook's platform is not very secure. So I don't know if I want to go back to Facebook. But when I was on Facebook, I saw you like vacationing. I was like, okay, then, we're hilarious. I was so happy to see that, because I have so many pastors who tell me they don't know how to take a vacation. Like, I don't know when my last vacation was, and I don't know when I could take one.
Yeah.
Let them know how you take a vacation, sir.
Well, my wife is like a vacation planner, not a professional one, but she's always looking at travel channels. She's always on YouTube looking at other people's trips.
Right.
And so we've made it like a family staple, man. Like before COVID, we were trying to just see the world, like try to hit every continent, every year. And then after we hit every continent, start all over again, go see a different part of the continent. And so, man, that time away is just like I got a strong support system with family, man. So the kids are okay, and we're able to just like relax, release. And then I think what it teaches me too, though, man, is like life goes on when you're not there.
Right. That's what I was going to ask.
The church goes on when you're not there.
Right.
Everything goes on when you're not there, but you need that time away to reset. Like I literally, like I can feel the reset. Like when I get back, I feel like I'm just ready to conquer, right. Ready to, to strategically think, to dream. Like, it's just like, man, but can you just imagine, like, if you just had a lifetime of just grind, right. And no time that, man, it's just like, wow. You're most effective when you're rested, and when you're if I'm going into a fight, man, I don't want nobody that's like, this is like, weary and worn out. Like I want to give me a fresh,
exactly
vibrant soldier, man. I don't want nobody that's just been on the battlefield. Never took a break, like
right. So tell me, when you tell me, how did that planning go? Because again, I have pastors who say I can't take a vacation. I don't know what to do. So
I will say, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. A lot of the planning, the biggest part for me is just submitting to the will of the vacation. A lot of the planning aspect of it, I will say this, my wife. So I just, I don't even get involved. Like I don't even know where we're going. I just know, like, when do I need to have my bags packed? And,
right. Well, not so much the planning of the vacation, but the planning with your team. So how does that conversation go?
I try to do it at the same time every year.
Okay.
And so they kind of know, like, Pastor's going to be out, these 2 weeks or whatever. He's going to be out. So I try to do it at the same time every year.
Perfect.
And typically, like around springtime for me, I'm not opposed to the winter or whatever, because it's hot somewhere in the world, like
right.
But my team, I encourage them to do the same. Like, so it's like, okay, Pastor, you gonna go, and then you get back, we gonna go, like, so,
right.
And so it's just a case. Everybody knows the benefit, and like it's like a mental benefit, a health benefit. It's just like spiritual benefit. Like it's, because if not, you become irritable, hard to be around. They be like, oh, Pastor here today, let me close my door.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so happy you said that. And so what you're saying is you have some sort of conversation was had with your team, and they expect you to be gone, and they handle things, because when you came back, the church was still going.
Yeah.
It didn't shut down. Life was still going. And
one of my trustees, I was getting ready to get to board my plane. He sent me a text message. He was just like, "We got this. We got this."
There you go.
And that, but that's just, I trust my team now. I really trust my team. Like, a lot of people on my team was drafted by me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people left or whatever, man. But the people that are on the team they know how I roll. They know the work I put in. and they're not, this is what you got to be careful of, man. They're not jealous of, of if I experience any success, they celebrate it.
Right.
Even with a vacation, like they like, Pastor, you need it. You don't need people around. Where do you think he going? And Pastor, because you got people. Some people do that. Like but you gotta learn how to put some cotton in your ear, man, and like go and enjoy. And I think after the first trip for me, because I think you really just have to kind of like almost in a way you gotta just plan to do it. And once you do it and see the benefit, just break the ice. That's what I would say. Jump in the pool. Almost scary. I mean, it's cold. You put your toe in the pool, like but once you get over that initial jump, man, you start to enjoy it. And
exactly.
So I would say to pastors, man, that might be, skeptical about doing it, wondering if the church will fall apart while you're going, man, go. And you will see that everything that you worried about that might happen, it won't happen, and you'll be more.
Exactly.
And if it does happen, you have to really pray about, is this the place that I'm supposed to be?
Right. Now that's the conversation we don't want to have.
Yeah, we don't want to have it.
We don't want to talk about it. Yeah. I'm so happy you said that. Because I've had this so much. And I also try to encourage my clients to take daily breaks.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of days off during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And then a vacation once or twice during the year. I mean, that's what you would do in corporate America.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And you need to do the same thing as a pastor as well.
Right.
You got to. You just have to. So I am so happy. There's so much more I want to say, but I'm not going. I try not to go over an hour.
Can I say this real quick?
Yes, please.
I don't think that I know that they do, but we're really, I didn't like to watch cowboy movies, but my dad watched them, my granddad watched them. And you look at like how cowboys kind of handled the herd. There was a particular cowboy that kind of went ahead of the herd to kind of scope out where they're going. He was by himself. Nobody went with him. He was just kind of like alone. He goes out and he finds the next move, the next pasture, where the flock is getting ready to go. He's isolated. He's by himself.
Wow.
He's going to find where we're going. A lot of times, man, like, I had to get on my staff sometime, man. They were like, man, Pastor, you might come in 3 days a week. You might come in 2 days a week. And, I had to tell them, like, what if I didn't come in no days a week? Like, what you seeing me, does that signify that, because you don't see me, does that mean that I'm not working? Does that mean that I'm not in my place? Because ultimately my goal is to take this flock. Where are we going next? Wow. And sometimes that walk isn't with a crowd. Sometimes that walk is alone. Like, you know what I mean? And I need to be able to hear God clearly and get the direction and see where we're going. And without apology, like, like, this is like what I'm called to do. Like, a lot of time, man, people don't really, most effective pastors have a lot of quiet time with God, man. And they're able to hear clearly and then come back and, to a strong team and say, hey, this is where we're going. Exactly. But he can't do it if he's clouded. He got to do this, A, B, C, D, this and that. And then so now the church is stagnated because you never gave him time to think or allow God to show him, like, what's the next move?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, that was good. Oh, now I'm gonna go find some cowboy movies. Because I used to watch with my dad too. I didn't like cowboy movies at all.
Right. Yeah.
But I never picked up on that. That was good. I need to just let you preach.
No,
hey, what else you got?
I'm good. I'm good. Invite me back. I'll come back for session B.
I will. I sure will. I absolutely will. Oh my goodness, that was so good. I just need to sit with that for just a minute.
Indeed. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Clarity is everything. Clarity, like my mentors, his church books him a flight, like he lives in Alabama. They book him a flight to LA just for him to get to the airport in LA and fly back to Alabama. And all this is in one day because he thinks best while he's in the air. But when they send him trips, just to think, like, doesn't even have a suitcase, just get on the plane, just in a note, in a book bag and a notebook, just to the whole flight is all about him being able to write, think, work through things mentally. It's so important, man. Yeah. It's so important.
Yeah, it really is. I take my clients through a breathing exercise. And at first they're like, I breathe every day. Like, what is this? But once they sit quiet, and most of them, they've never sat quietly. They're constantly going. And just to sit and breathe,
right,
it is foreign.
Yeah.
And then after they've done it a few times, they feel renewed and refreshed. They're like, wow. I'm like, yeah, that's something you can do every day. Just some deep breaths in and then out.
Right. Yeah.
It just instantly resets. And it really, I like that. You have to get away. And a lot of the clients that have been working with me is just to get them away from their norm and to have that moment to think.
Yeah.
Moment to not constantly, and I'm telling you, the first week is hard because they just want to do things. They can't sit still. But after that, they're like, okay, all right. I went back home. Family's great. The church was good. I can't step away.
Right. Yeah.
Everything's gonna be all right.
Definitely. Most definitely.
I love that so much. Can you please tell everyone where they can find you?
There is a alarm going off, and I hate that this is going to be a podcast.
That's okay. That's all right.
Okay.
It's real life. Right.
There it is. So, it's Facebook, Larry Watson Jr. Also, Larry Watson Jr. Music. Also on Instagram is Larry Watson Jr. Music. You can contact me via our webpage, englewoodonline.com. You can leave a message for me there. Any one of those social media sites. I'm trying to get it. My son got me set up on TikTok. I don't really use it that much per se, but we're trying to be more socially savvy. You know what I mean?
Right? It's hard. I feel like on TikTok, I just started another TikTok. I had a previous one and I let that one go. And I was like, I'm gonna start another one. And I keep saying I'm gonna jump in the TikTok pool.
Mm-mm. Right. Yeah.
I just can't bring myself to do it.
I got some interesting music coming out, man. I'm actually kind of going more towards like wedding music, like music that speaks to marriages.
Nice.
And so I think the best way to promote this is gonna have like a you gotta have like the edginess. They're gonna like pastor singing that kind of music, but I'm like, when I'm with my wife, I don't want to hear Amazing Grace. Like I want to also, and be honest with you, I'm not really impressed with today's music scene compared to our music scene.
That is so true. I'm not either. I remember Fred Hammond did something like that back in the day, like a love.
Right.
I don't even know what to call it, like a love gospel album or something to that effect. I don't know what it was called, but I remember him doing something like that, and he said the same thing. I don't think he's married now, but at the time he was like, I don't want to be listening to no Rock of Ages with trying to get with my wife, like. So he had to create it, and so and that was years ago. I don't think anything's come out since. So I'm very happy you're doing that.
Well, I think timing is right. I think the church is in a different place. I think, man, people are really understand that there's life beyond the church. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like an abuser of God's grace, but I think that life, when he said that you can have life and have life more abundantly, a lot of stuff that we we put a lot of rules and stipulations on. There's probably certain things that he was meant for us to meant to enjoy, like, you know what I mean? And so,
right.
you know, it's just, you know, I just think it's a different time, because even with Fred, like when Fred did it, it's almost like after every song he had to like lace it with like try to lace it with scripture. Like, okay, let me tell you why I'm doing this. Like, man, nah, bro. Like, read Song of Solomon. Like, read, you know, like, it's like, you know, we didn't make love and companionship. That's something that made. Like, and we shouldn't have to like try to explain that and give a bunch of scriptures about it. Like, I mean, he made us. Like, I mean, and it's not good for man to be alone. He said it. Like, I mean, it's like, you know, and so, you know, just in that way, I just think that, you know, he would want us to express ourselves with our gifts. And so pray for me. That's all I'll say.
I will pray for you. I am so happy you're doing it. You got to let me know. I'm going to have to bring you back on to talk about that, because it's so needed. So needed. Yeah. So let me know when that drops as well. But that's all I have. Did you have anything else you wanted to share?
I'm good. Y'all invite me back. We'll talk some more.
I will.
Oh, this was a blessing. I really appreciate it. I really thank you for the opportunity.
I'm just very grateful. You know, I was like, he better call me back, because he's gonna gotta get him on here. But thank you so much. I've been so blessed to have some amazing, amazing pastors and ministry leaders come on, and you're at the top of the list.
Wow. I'm honored. Wow.
You're definitely at the top of the list. So I appreciate you coming on. I already know that you have helped some of your colleagues.
Wow. That's amazing. That's what we're here to do. Like,
absolutely. Absolutely.
I hope my time was not in vain. I'm afraid
it was not. It was not. It was definitely not in vain. So I am going to end it here. You stay on, but I'm going to end it here. So everyone, that is all. And I will see you next time. Bye.